How do you see yourself? Today we will discuss 3 questions to ask yourself for a self-identity reflection. Welcome to today's video. My name is Lindsay and I run the blog The Well-Rounded Teacher, where I give you tips, tricks, and ideas on ways to live a more balanced lifestyle. If you are new to the channel, please click that red subscribe button as well as the bell icon so you never miss another video from me. And if you are a returning viewer, thank you so much for being here with me today. I have been doing a lot of contemplating, a lot of thinking on goal setting, and so it's prompted me to start our series in December on goal setting for 2021. Part 1, we talked about self-reflection, personal self-reflection, and some self-reflection questions that you can ask yourself. And if you haven't watched that video already, I would recommend doing that when this one is over. Today we're going to talk about 3 questions to analyze your self-identity and really discuss how that ties into goal setting and what that's going to look like. So what got me thinking about this was the book Atomic Habits by James Clear. If you have not read that book, I would recommend giving it a read or downloading it and listening to it on Audible. It really is so helpful in thinking about the habits that we have and how we have created these habits in our life and how we can maybe adjust our habits into new ones that are better fits for us and can really help us to reach our goals. So it was definitely helpful. And in that book, he talks a lot about self-identity, and that prompted me to start thinking about how that affects our goal setting. He was talking about how if our habits impact our goals and our goals are impacted and shaped by our self-identity. And if we're thinking about that and keeping that in mind, it really is going to be beneficial to do a self-identity reflection in order to set goals that we can actually achieve. So question number 1 that I want you to ask yourself is, what is your current self-identity? This was a little bit tricky for me because I don't think that I had ever really considered what my self-identity is and what that might look like. As you're thinking about that, if you're not quite sure what your self-identity is, start to look at your habits. What habits do you have, and what does that say about your self-identity? An example would be if you know someone who has the identity of being a runner, you probably know that they're a runner because every day they're going out for a run. They're eating healthy food that's going to help them to stay in shape. They're looking for the latest technology about how they can get equipment that is going to help them to train to become faster, or help them to train better. Everything that they're doing is shaped by their identity as a runner. If you know someone who is a reader, you know that they're a reader and that they have the self-identity of being a reader because they are constantly reading new books. They're always looking for the latest and greatest author. They're trying different genres. They're always sharing their great reads with someone else who is wanting to know about reading or wanting to know about new books. That's constantly shaping their world, and that lets you know that their identity is a reader. You can see that it's evidenced by their actions and by their habits. If you're not sure what your personal self-identity is, think a little bit about your habits and the actions that you take on a regular basis. Sometimes it can even be helpful. I know we're identifying self here, but the examples I gave you are ways that you can tell what other people are doing. If you have someone close to you that you feel comfortable asking, you could even ask them, how would you describe me? What do you see as being my identity, and see how that lines up with your own thoughts, or if maybe they say something different than what you were thinking. So this can definitely take a little bit of contemplation and a little bit of time to kind of chew on and reflect on. What is your self-identity? And then number 2, what do you want your self-identity to be? So there were some things as I'm analyzing myself that I would not have maybe characterized myself as, and my habits and actions are reflecting one thing, but I want to view myself as being this person on the other side. So then I have to think about how they're not in agreement or not in alignment. So here's where I am, and here's where I see myself going, or would like to see myself being, who I would like to see myself as. If you're someone who's maybe not very active, but you want to see yourself as an active person, that would be your future self-identity, what you would like to see in the future. But that might not be your current state. So we're really looking for, where were you? Where do you want to see yourself later? Where do you want to be? Question number 3, how much of a gap is there between where you are currently and where you want to be? This is really going to be crucial in thinking about the goals that you're going to set for yourself this year. I think this is where a lot of people really fall down and come up with goals or New Year's resolutions, whatever you want to call it, that is not realistic, because there's a huge gap between where they are and where they want to be, and they set the goal as moving that entire jump. Whereas if they took little tiny jumps along the way, they might find themselves more successful, because those would be smaller achievable goals. And we'll talk about that a little more when we talk about SMART goal setting. If the goal is too big and you never feel like you're making progress towards that goal, it's going to cause you to get into a negative mindset and maybe even give up on achieving that goal. And then you're left with another year of frustration or feeling kind of bummed because the year's gone by and I didn't reach the goal that I had set for myself. So we want to be realistic about what we can achieve in the time that we can achieve it. And a lot of that comes back to thinking about how much of a gap is there between the two things. If I'm a couch potato and I want to see myself as an athlete, that's a huge gap. I'm going to need to take some smaller steps along the way in order to actually see progress and see myself moving forward. Whereas maybe if I walk every day and I have the self-identity of a walker and I want to become a runner, it's not as wide of a gap. And so it might be a little bit more achievable in a shorter period of time, if that makes sense. So I hope these 3 questions kind of gave you some food for thought and are something that you can kind of mull over and think through. It really is going to help you to set some achievable, realistic goals as we're preparing for 2021. And I think that you'll find great benefit from taking a little bit of time now as we're in December and doing this self-reflection work. Let me know down in the comments below, what are some other questions that maybe you might ask yourself to try and analyze your self-identity, or let me know how these questions have helped you to get a better picture of where your starting point is and where you're at right now. And then join me back here for part 3 of our goal setting series next time. Until then, bye everyone.